Rules are meant to be broken, right? Or at least that's how it feels if you're an INFP or INTP. But why is it that these personality types seem to have a natural aversion to authority? Ever found yourself in a situation where you just couldn't follow the rules? Not because you didn't understand them, but because they just didn't sit right with you? Yeah, we're diving deep into that today. Welcome, folks. In this video, we're going to explore why INFPs and INTPs, two of the most independent and introspective MBTI types, often clash with authority. We'll uncover the psychology behind their rebellious streak, share some relatable examples, maybe one will hit close to home, and even look at how this tendency can be both a strength and a challenge. Stick around because the answer might surprise you. So, let's start with the basics. INFPs and INTPs are part of the MBTI's idealistic and analytical families. Translation? These types don't just follow the crowd, they think deeply, challenge assumptions, and operate by their own inner compass. Sounds cool, right? But here's where it gets tricky. When someone with authority, like a boss, teacher, or parent, tries to impose rules that don't align with their values or logic, it's like setting off an internal alarm. They don't just resist, they question. And sometimes, they rebel. INFPs, for instance, are often guided by their deeply held values. When a rule feels unjust or inauthentic, it can resonate strongly, almost like a conflict with their core principles. INTPs, on the other hand, often rely on logic and systems. If a rule doesn't make sense, or worse, if it feels completely irrational, they're likely to analyze it critically, breaking it down piece by piece just to understand or challenge its purpose. Now here's a fun question. How do you think these types handle situations like rigid school systems, micromanaging bosses, or even small things like office dress codes? Spoiler, not very gracefully. But don't worry, we've got some juicy examples coming up to illustrate just how real the struggle is. Picture this: an INFP in a corporate office. They're told they have to work late on a project they don't even believe in. The INFP doesn't just feel annoyed, they feel drained, almost physically incapable of continuing. Their inner monologue? Why am I wasting my energy on something that doesn't matter to me or anyone else? Now, switch gears to an INTP in a college classroom. The professor says, you can only use 3 sources for this paper. INTP's immediate reaction? Why 3? Why not 4? Who made this rule? And why should I follow it? Cue hours of arguing with the professor, not because they care about the grade, but because the logic of the rule is flawed. Sound familiar? Let me know in the comments if you've been in a similar situation. I'm curious, what's the most absurd rule you've ever had to follow? Okay, so why does this happen? It all comes down to how INFPs and INTPs process the world. INFPs lead with something called introverted feeling, meaning their decisions are based on personal values and emotional resonance. If a rule clashes with what they feel is right, it's a no-go. Full stop. INTPs, on the other hand, lead with introverted thinking. They need things to make sense. They're like mini philosophers, always analyzing and deconstructing. For them, authority isn't inherently respected, it's questioned. Does this rule serve a purpose? Is the logic sound? If not, why am I wasting my time? What's fascinating is that these two types don't resist authority to be difficult or rebellious. They genuinely believe in their own frameworks of what's right or logical. And honestly, that's kind of admirable. Now let's be real. This tendency isn't always smooth sailing. Yes, questioning authority can lead to innovative ideas and moral courage. Think of all the great leaders and thinkers in history who challenged the status quo. But, and this is a big but, it can also create problems. Constantly clashing with authority can lead to misunderstandings, burnout, or even missed opportunities. For example, an INFP might quit a job prematurely because it didn't align with their values, only to regret it later. An INTP might come across as arrogant or dismissive when challenging a superior, even if their intentions were pure. It's a balancing act, staying true to yourself while navigating a world full of rules and hierarchies. So, what's the takeaway here? INFPs and INTPs are natural rule breakers, but not in the rebellious punk rock way you might think. They challenge authority because they believe in something deeper, whether it's their values, their logic, or their vision of a better way to do things. The question is, how can these types use this tendency to their advantage without letting it hold them back? Well, that's a topic for another video. So make sure you hit that subscribe button, turn on notifications, and drop a comment below sharing your thoughts. Are you an INFP or INTP? Or do you know someone who fits the description? Let's start a conversation. Thanks for watching, and remember, rules are meant to be questioned, but maybe not all of them.